And good morning to everybody. Welcome to Interview with the Man, episode 132, where I am joined by UFC veteran and current Bellator welterweight contender, John Fitch. John, thank you so much for coming on the show today. How are you doing this morning, sir?
I'm good. You can go ahead and call me the real Bellator welterweight champion.
Yeah, I saw that and I watched the fight and I was like, okay, this is some semantics here. Like I don't know if they're trying to push Rory or whatever.
So I don't think anybody expected the performance I put on. So caught everybody with their pants down. I was the old guy. I wasn't supposed to beat the crap out of a guy 12 years younger than me.
And I'm not a big fan of bringing up people's losses or draws and asking them about it unless you were to bring it up. I would never do that kind of thing. But yeah, man, it's honestly just to see how incredibly in shape you are at the age of 42. I mean, you're just
41. We're not at 42 yet.
Oh, when are you 42? When are you 42? Sorry about that.
February. So
okay,
halfway there.
Okay, you're almost to the Tom Brady. I mean, Tom Brady's 42 and he's still doing it. So,
yeah, I know. That's it. Yeah.
But yeah,
my inspiration.
He is. I mean, your diet is almost as strict as this. And guys, real quick before we get going, just so you know, do not forget that coming up here in just 11 days and 2 hours. 58 minutes, Body Language Mastery Quarter 3 is going to be occurring. You're going to want to go to modernlifedating.com/body language and get on the waiting list for the program, which is going to give you a head-to-toe breakdown of female body language that allows you to understand if a woman is interested in you or not. 3 weeks of 4 hours daily webinar coaching with yours truly. And people like Rollo Tomasi, Richard Cooper, Ryan Stone, Donovan Sharp, the whole 9 yards, the all-star group from the Rule Zero squad. And you get access to the men's only Facebook group, which is basically free lifetime coaching. Go to modernlifedating.com/body language and jump on in there. Yeah, John, you're totally welcome to come and do the webinars anytime you want. If you want to come, just I do them twice a day, typically after the show in the morning, which is about 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then 9 p.m. Eastern Standard. It's going to be going from October 8th until Halloween. But yeah, quite a mouthful. But yeah, thanks to everybody who's showing up. So John, let's just jump right into it, man. First of all, Jesus Christ, dude, 41 years old and you're still kicking ass. You're still looking good. You are definitely living that hot dude life. What do you chalk it all up to? Because I mean, you look better than some guys that are in their 20s.
I would say consistency is probably the most important thing. Consistency over a long period of time. Mm-hmm. Diet and consistency. So regularly lifting weights, I make sure that I don't go very long without picking something up heavy. Mm-hmm. I took 8 weeks off this summer of doing, I didn't do any workouts at all for 8 weeks, mm-hmm. but I stuck to my diet. And that's the other important part of it is even not sticking to my usual 6 meals a day. I kept to a low carb, no sugar diet. And, other than alcohol is my sugar.
Yeah.
But, just sticking to that kept me lean. And, mm-hmm. I deflated a little bit, but the last mm-hmm. couple of weeks I've been lifting again. I'm starting to fill back on, my 8 ounces of meat, 8 times a day or 6 times a day.
Right.
So, diet is the biggest thing, consistently being on your diet and lifting weights, man, it's huge.
Man, that is incredible. I want to talk more about, first of all, when I just saw you tweeting around and dabbling in this sphere, I was like, is that who I think it is? Like most celebrities and most guys who are, privileged enough to have some level of fame, they typically get kind of they kind of get blinded into a corner due to just like not realizing why they're getting girls. Like a lot of I mean, I'm sure even now, but I bet you in the peak of all of your, stardom, if you will, I mean, you probably had infinitesimally experienced like tons of girls just throwing themselves at you. Is that true?
Yeah, but I mean, I was in a 15-year long relationship that just kind of ended a couple of years ago. So, I mean, for the bulk of my fame, I was already with somebody, a committed relationship.
Mm-hmm.
I was what you guys refer to as a blue pill alpha.
Oh wow. Okay. And
Yeah.
how do you think how would you put yourself like that?
I think I was having a constant battle between what I internally believed and thought, and what my testosterone was telling me to do,
Yeah.
versus what I was conditioned to do watching Oprah and Sally Jesse Raphael, daytime television when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I was trying to do those things that were conditioned into me around relationships, and that was ultimately one of the major factors that led to the end of the relationship.
Wow. So, okay, tell me about and then if we crossed any border that you don't want to talk, I mean, we don't have to talk about it, but just tell me how did you meet this girl, and what was the whole red pilling moment for you? What happened exactly?
Man, so I feel like I've always been a contrarian, so I've always been borderline red pilled about a lot of different things, but the relationship thing didn't really kick me in the butt until she says I don't love you anymore. Came out of nowhere. I didn't really understand it. The whole relationship I didn't really understand in the first place. Well, not the whole relationship, but the marriage. Because we dated for 7.5 years. Everything was great, and then we got married, and things started getting rough because I started having issues with the UFC, and I eventually got fired. And I was making, I went from making 60 to show, 60 to win. So about $120,000 a fight. I was fighting 3 times a year.
Yeah. Good money.
Yeah. I went from that to fighting once every 9 months for like 30 grand.
Yeah.
So the money shifted major. The social status changed major because I wasn't with the UFC anymore, and I wasn't with, they wasn't flying me all over the world to do appearances.
Right.
So my social status dropped, my income dropped, my future prospects kind of stalled, and she lost interest, and I didn't understand it at the time, but over the last couple of years, being in this space and kind of watching and listening and reading, it makes a lot more sense now.
But wasn't she with you prior to your success?
Yeah, she before even anybody knew what MMA was.
How did you meet this woman?
She worked at the gym.
Ooh, okay, one of those.
Well, she was young, and she worked at the gym because she wanted to work out for free. So her and one of her girlfriends got jobs there.
This is a girl from California.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How old? Like when you
first generation American.
Okay. And how old
So
were?
I vetted her quite well, and I thought that I had I thought that I picked a great girl, had a great family, and then she was. Everything was great until we got married and we had financial issues. That's when things went sour.
Oh, that's always the worst, dude. Do you think the Americanization of her had something to do with it?
Yes, but she's also Viet, so they're already status oriented.
Yeah. So okay, and then how old were you when you met her, and how old was she?
She was 18. That was problem. She was 26. Yeah.
Okay, she was 18. You were 25. And then how old were you when you got married?
It's like whatever, 7.5 years later. She was about 24, 25.
Okay. So she got with you pretty early in life. Like she probably wasn't whoring around or whatever.
No, she never got a chance to, and that was one of the things she's always. That was an excuse at the end. It's like the fear of missing out thing. I never got the chance to be a hoe. That was like an actual argument, and
really,
in counseling, it was like a thing. It was like I never got to.
Oh my
So
God.
it's like this feminist thing, like, you know, they see all their miserable friends who bounce around from one relationship to the next, who are from the outside, when I'm seeing it, they look really sad.
Yeah,
Their lives seem kind of sad, but they're
for
like,
sure.
they're building it up like, oh, this is what I've missed out on.
And so tell me this, like, what was the straw that broke the camel's back? What was what was the moment she was just like, look, you're like not famous anymore? Or like, I don't, like, what was her excuse?
I don't know. She just, I should just, you know, that was her excuse. I was young. I didn't need to experience life. You know, it was a million things. You know, we went to counseling, and I don't think she knew what it was, but, you know, I'm pretty sure it was the hypergamy. I think she just was wanting to see what else was out there, because I was just not delivering on my end at the time.
One thing that really, I personally would love to experience this. I've seen a friend of mine experience this, which is the hypergamy benefits of being super famous. You know, obviously you fought George St. Pierre at one time, one of the largest pay-per-views at the UFC had ever had at that time, in a grueling 5 round fight. I remember watching that fight specifically. And you know, you just kept coming forward. That was one hell of a fight. Like he said, that was I remember George was saying one of the interviews, like, you just did not stop. I remember that. At the peak of your fame, tell me this. I'm sure some women knew you were married. Did they still make passes at you and try to get at you?
Oh yeah, I mean, of course there are. They're man, like the whole Me Too thing, where like girls like, oh, guys would never understand being catcalled or having a guy grope you. I'm like, bullshit. Bullshit. I have not had an appearance where they're like old ladies not standing in line to like grope me and get a picture.
Are you serious? Where do they grope you? To grab your crotch or what?
They'll rub your stomach, rub your chest. Yeah, you know, just completely inappropriate behavior if any man were to do that to a woman.
Yeah. Oh God.
You know, grab an ass cheek as the lights flash.
Yeah. Oh, and then how about like sliding in your DMs and social media? Are you getting them on that avenue as well?
That's a new thing. That's a new phenomenon I'm not used to.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I come from a time when girls didn't send you unsolicited pictures of their vagina.
Oh wow, you got a bunch of those.
It's a thing now.
It's just their Hail Mary, like, hey, do you want some?
Like, check it out. Show me what you got. And I was like, no, I'm not sending you a picture of my penis.
So what happened? So she had a moment with you. You guys went counseling, and then you got married.
No. She went back to work, and then, you know, she's banging Steve from accounting, basically. All while I'm, you know, trying to save the marriage, and I'm going to counseling and doing all this stuff. And really, all counseling was her, the counselor, and her other counselor conspiring and figuring out a way to convince me that it was okay to be divorced. That's all it was. It was just me going in and being gaslit the whole time why it was better.
Jesus fucking Christ, dude.
I was like, am I really paying $350 an hour for this? The guy lectured me about how men and women aren't biologically different. That me and my wife were different, but men and women are not different.
Great. That's just phenomenal. Good to know we have professionals out there that really got to. How was this guy an icon of fitness himself? Or
oh man, and like it was maddening, and you know, that's why I people jumped on my throat for saying, but I'm not a big fan of guys going to therapy.
No, it's hit
or miss, I think, and where you're at, because you could end up just be getting somebody who's going to gaslight you and brainwash you and follow the American Psychiatric Association's guidelines towards, you know, toxic masculinity. And now you have way more. I read an article the other day. There's way more women entering that field than men, anyways. So yeah, I just don't see it as a healthy place for men to go to.
No, it's definitely. I mean, it's part of the blue pill mainstream machine. I have my bachelor's in science and psychology, and I was on the path to become a psychologist. But then I saw what they want, and basically their business model is either to push. Well, no, the business model is to push 12 weeks of therapy on you plus drugs, and then if that doesn't work,
we got into the big argument about SSRIs and school shootings and all kinds of stuff. we're like in couples therapy, and I'm like arguing and debating the guy. Like, he's not helping. I'm debating this guy.
No, it doesn't help. Now, let me ask you this. Given the, I think that, would you agree that I think that people are waking up, though? I think more and more men are waking up. There is more of a revolution, silent happening.
I think there's more guys who are tired of the way things are, and they're looking for something, and there's definitely some good provided in this space.
Yeah.
Get some direction. Put things in perspective. Really, it's a hard pill to swallow, because it's a nice story.
Yeah,
it's a nice story. I want to find the girl, find the one, find the perfect person through all my hard work and whatever, being a good person. She's gonna come to me, and we're gonna be in love, and it sounds nice. It's a good story.
Man, and so let me ask you this then. How did you find this area, and what was the moment like you had the holy, like, you dropped the book and you're like, oh my fucking God, like, is this real?
I mean, it was gradual. I think I kind of was just looking at the space online, just to being an influencer type thing. I read Cernovich's Guerrilla Mindset book, and that led me into Jordan Peterson. And I started listening to his lectures when he was at Harvard. He had a bunch of old lectures up on his Maps and Meaning book. And that's where things really turned for me, because I was like super depressed. I was suicidal. 2016, I won a world championship fighting for World Series of Fighting.
Right.
And then I was just like, I won a world championship, and I was depressed as shit, because my marriage was falling apart, and I was being crushed by responsibility. I hadn't got it through my head yet that nobody was coming to save me, and I just needed to suck it up and get shit done. And I think being exposed to Jordan Peterson's work, he helped me realign and put some goals in order, because I was so obsessed with winning a UFC title that I thought that was the key to my future. And when that was kind of taken away from me, and I got fired from the UFC, I kind of lost my direction. I didn't know where I was going, what I wanted to do, because I put that on this pillar, and that was my only future. And it kind of started a downward spiral when that got taken away. So Peterson kind of helped me create a new goal, a new future self, and helped me start moving back towards that direction. And then right when I started getting my ship together is when she decided she had enough. And I think that's when she had met somebody else from her past, and they started rekindling something, I think. I don't have all the details yet.
Right.
Because I found out about it from my children, that she was seeing somebody else.
Jesus. How many kids do you have, John?
I have 2 sons.
Oh, thank God. Thank God you got boys.
Yeah.
How old are they?
5 and 7, and they are they're awesome. They're loaded. They're pumped full of testosterone naturally. They climb off the walls. They do stuff little boys are supposed to do. It's great.
Good stuff. I bet you those boys are going to be red-pilled as fuck when they get older.
It's going to be hard for them not to be. Like, I always have stuff on in the background, so they're probably they're hearing the same podcasts and talks that I'm listening to. So
how did you actually get into like the kind of red pill sphere? Did you read like any particular work? Because I know Jordan Peterson's work, it's like kind of like, red pill light, if you will. It's not.
Yeah, I think just in the political realm, I started just following some people on Twitter that AJ Cortez and Ed Lattimore and some guys like that, and then I just kept branching out and connecting to more and more people. And I started turning the cesspool of Twitter into a positive place that I could get positive quotes and positive directions, and turning me into the positive lanes. You know, I was looking into things like drop shipping and affiliate sales, and it's kind of all that stuff that just is going on online. And I just figured, you know, the future's online. I need to just look for more connections, more network stuff online.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I think I started listening to then a lot of the Red Man Group stuff.
Yeah.
And then I stumbled upon a book called The Game.
By Neil Strauss.
Yes. And then I opened up I was like, holy shit. There's technique. Like they're calling it technology, but I was like, oh my God, there's just technique to talking to girls. Because that was a world I never had to really, as an athlete, I never really had to approach girls because I could always just, you know, hulk out in a sport, and that was enough to get my social proof, and the girls would have attention and they'd put themselves in my path.
Right.
But yeah, to learn and to see these things and these theories, I've just slowly started wading into the pool, and you know, here I am.
And how's it going now for you? Like, do you have like a brothel of girlfriends now, or you're in a better spot, or?
Way better spot. Like, you know, because I used to not believe in the whole blue pill. I didn't believe in dating two girls at once.
Oof. What a waste of time.
Holy Jesus Christ. Well, I mean, yeah, like, so, yeah, I thought that was the blue pill conditioning I had. It's like, oh, you should give each girl your full attention.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so that's changed quite a bit. I've been learning to I've always kept my frame in certain areas, but then not in others. But I was like, why wouldn't you keep your frame all the time?
Yeah.
And so that's been helping, and like just the confidence to be direct and tell the girls exactly what you want and what your intentions are. It's empowering. It's pretty cool.
Were you raised religious? Where do you think this like conditioning came from?
I don't know. I think I was raised Catholic, but my parents weren't, you know, dogmatic in any ways. Went to Catholic school from 1st to 6th grade, you know, so we got yelled at by the nuns, but it wasn't anything super crazy compared to, you know, I've had some friends who were raised like Jehovah's Witness and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was, you know, mild. We went to churches on the church on the weekend, but everybody did. It was like a social thing, kind of, when I was growing up. So yeah, I don't know. I just think it was just society's conditioning. You know, movies, television, what's on TV. Oh, this is a good man. This is how a good man acts. I think that was a lot of, you know, what it was from.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that seems, you know, I live in Japan, right? And so I just went back to the States, and the number two thing that shocked me, number one was how fat everybody is. I did not. I was just like, these people are it's 15 nuts. Years away from death. Like a lot of people,
and they want free healthcare.
Yeah. It just blows my mind. Another thing I've noticed, like just how I have a background in sales and marketing, right? And I've noticed just like how female centric all the marketing is in the United States. The television, the television shows, like in Japan, if you ever watch TV in Japan, the commercials are like literally of like healthy models, like, you know, families together, mom, dad. There's literally a commercial with housewives wearing aprons, dancing in the sun together because they're so happy they have like this dishwashing detergent. And when I go to the States, it's like every guy, I don't even know what the deal, like, does this marketing work? Because every guy is fat, balding, or some dork on the internet or on the TV advertisements. And it's always some bumbling fool, and like, here comes the woman to rescue the day, or roll her eyes at him, and she does so because she has product X.
Yeah, no, it's wild, the amount of strain, and that was one of the things that kind of broke me. Was I was the sole breadwinner in my household, and I was raising the children. I was training for a world championship fight, and I was taking my kids to the gym with me, and I would have to stop in between rounds to change a dirty diaper.
Where the hell was she?
That's shouldn't happen.
Yeah,
At home on Instagram.
Okay. Well, I mean that right there, like that right there does. I just would not. That would not slide with me. Did you want to put your foot down, or you just felt like you should just be manning up, or what's the deal?
Well, I mean, at first it was started taking them because I would leave them at home and they would just be at home and watch TV. So there's nothing I could do about it. So it's like, okay, so I leave my kids to watch TV because she wanted to put them into daycare. I don't know why. Like, she didn't have a job. We didn't need to put them in daycare.
What a lazy bum. No offense.
That's what I was thinking. So yeah, so it was a thing. I was just like, fuck, man. Like, I had to. That was one of the points where I was just like, well, nobody's gonna come and help you out, John. Nobody's gonna save you. You want your kids to have a better childhood than watching TV all morning. You're gonna have to do something. So I started taking them to the gym with me. Because it was better for them to climb, the heavy bags and watch me work out and watch people do stuff than sit and watch TV the whole time. So that was just how it was. But then we got to a point where we went out for my birthday dinner, and she gave me a lecture about how I needed to do more. I needed to put a little more effort in. And I kind of lost my shit a little bit.
Yeah, rightfully so. You're literally.
I need to do more. I need to step it up. Yeah.
Do you want me to get another belt and another weight class, bitch? Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. So it was a strange thing, and then I didn't really see it was over for a while just because I wanted so bad to make it work. Mm-hmm. But I think that's what it was. Is I think I was beat down from alpha into a beta position. I was the workhorse, the plow horse.
Yeah.
And it went from that. I was the prize to the trophy they showed off to the slave.
I think I already know the answer to this question, but was it a gradual beating down?
I believe so. Yeah. Because like when we were dating, it was amazing. Like it was, she was at school for 4 of the years. So like we would go 2-3 weeks out seeing each other, meet up on the weekend. And then it was just, crazy wild sex and parties. Mm-hmm. She was into girls for a while. So we had like girlfriends.
Solid.
So that was, but looking back at it, I realized that was just, she was dangling a carrot.
For you to get married?
Yeah. As soon as she got that ring, that was over.
Oof. And so you had to go through the divorce machine. Now you're literally in the fucking worst state for divorce. Yeah. I think maybe only New York rivals you, but
so you just have to. Yeah, I was in a situation that I just had to just shut up and let it happen because there's nothing you can do. Luckily, she used lube. I'm absolutely a fantastic father, and I think she knows that and doesn't want to risk me not being there to lean on that factor. So, she used a lot of lube during the divorce rape.
Yeah, that's just I mean, it just makes me sick to my stomach. I think that I think there's multiple factors to female bad behavior in the United States. I mean, would you agree with me in this? I mean, me personally, I believe that American women are at the bottom of the barrel.
It's looking like. I mean, I picked a first generation girl, a Vietnamese child of Vietnamese immigrants because she was more traditional, more whatever than normal American chicks, but it still wasn't enough. Like she's still surrounded by people, who would rather have their kids taken care of by a nanny. Yeah. Would rather pay, somebody else, would rather work a job to make money to pay somebody to clean their house rather than cleaning their house themselves.
Yeah.
And not.
It's just truly, I mean, I don't know how often you watch my show. I know you saw me on Rule Zero and stuff in Red Man Group, but California is literally the worst place to try to cultivate a relationship. I think that is just such a terrible location in regards to It's like feminism ground zero. Then you have all the fake people chasing whatever they're trying to chase out there, whether fame, fortune, whatever. Everybody's full of shit. What city are you in?
I'm in San Jose.
Okay.
So that's one of the other reasons why I wanted to get into this sphere, is because I already teach MMA, jiu-jitsu. I have Fitch Smash is my fighting style and my fighting system that I teach people. But I kind of wanted to make it a little more scalable and open myself up to more people, because there's a lot of dudes out here that just look awful. They look awful. They dress awful. They got big fat pot bellies. They got neck beards. There's guys who are 30 years old who look 50. They're balding, and they can't even look at a girl in the eyes and say hello. So, what good am I doing to a guy, teaching him how to, survive and teach him self-defense if I can't also help him get laid a little bit?
Tell me this: who is one of the most, now looking back on it, who's like one of the most red pill pimps that you know from the MMA sphere?
Oh man. I mean,
I heard Dano just runs through broads.
Dano. I mean, that's a little. I mean, when you have the money and the power these guys have now,
Yeah.
Dana White, when they sold, when the Fertitta brothers sold Zuffa to WME,
yeah,
Dana profited more. He made more money than all UFC fighters combined. At that point.
How much is that?
A lot. But not that much though, because they don't pay that well.
Yeah. So you were part of that big class action lawsuit, right? With led by Nate Quarry.
Me, Nate, Kung Lee, Kyle Kingsbury, all named plaintiffs. Javier Vasquez.
Is that still going on?
Yep, we're 5 years into it. We just finished up evidentiary hearings where the judge listened to both experts. Went fairly well. I think they're going to talk to Joe Silva here the next month or so. And then we'll wait for class certification from the judge. Whether or not we get that, we're not sure yet. But, it could take him up to a year to write his decision. So we might not find out whether or not we get class, and there's a trial for another year.
Jesus. So is this just the UFC just bleeding the whole process on with lawyers?
Yes. I mean, it's a long process anyways, but it will take a long process. And if it goes all the way to trial and through appeal, this could be a whole 10 to 15 year process.
Jesus Christ. And what's the outcome? What's the outcome you're looking for?
Well, it's an antitrust lawsuit. So because it's antitrust, it's a federal crime to commit antitrust violations. So it pays treble. So our damages on the cheap end are just above 800 million. I'm sorry, 800 million.
Jesus.
So if we were to win the case, it would be a treble. So they times that by 3 would be the damages that they'd have to pay out.
Then your ex is gonna come back and with the fucking apron on, ready to bake some cookies.
So she's going to come with a lawyer and ask half of that. So, but it's going to be there's 1,214 fighters being represented. So the judge would figure out how to divide the money up between those guys and the lawyers, because the lawyers put the money up front.
All right, so guys in the chat, what I'm gonna do is we're gonna field some questions here to John. And I'm going to ask him some questions here. We're going to kind of branch off into just overall masculinity stuff. I'm going to put the link to this in the chat right there. Just click on that link, StreamYard, and this will actually bring you in camera onto the stream with us. You can ask questions. Be sure you have a solid internet connection. Be sure that you are in a quiet area. You're not walking down the street asking us a question. And you'll be able to join, and just click on that link right there. John, let me ask you some more stuff about the whole red pill thing. How does Scott Coker feel about you being vocal about this and on the internet? Is he okay with that? I mean, some people, they don't want you to they want you to be hush hush about this stuff.
They haven't said anything about it. I don't think they're really, too worried about it. I've been very political with a lot of my stuff, especially on my Twitter. You know, it's not a surprise for most people. You know, a lot of the stuff I say online. I'm an independent. I'm about individualism. I don't identify with any party, but
Right.
you know, I do put up a lot of conservative content because that's just where we are right now. Like even if you're in the middle, you look as if you're a conservative, and it seems like the left's lost their mind and they just lie all the time.
Yeah. Oh, we got a first guest here. It looks like we have Jack Napier on the stream here. Jack, welcome. What's up, man? Do you have a question for John Fitch here?
Yes, I do. I'm doing well, by the way. You guys?
Doing well. Thank you.
John, question. So, ex-MMA fighter, still an MMA fighter. Did you notice that the more capable you are of beating the crap out of somebody, the less necessary it is? Like, you're not radiating violence, but you're radiating capability, which makes people leave you alone more. Is that anything in there?
Yes. I mean, just posture and body language is a big part of it, because I never had anybody mess with me or approach me before anybody knew who I was. And that was just, you carry yourself in a way that you know how to handle yourself. And that is, I started wrestling since I was 9 years old. So like, there wasn't a point in my adult life where I didn't walk into a room and feel like I knew how to handle myself. So I'm sure I projected that energy wherever I was. And now people know about fighting and cauliflower ears. Like if someone sees my ears from across the room, they immediately, kind of get in line. Like the Adam Sandler's UFC ears song is a thing. People know to watch out for, guys with a flat nose, and I've got scars in my lips. So like, I've had a weathered face. People know like, well, okay, this is a guy that's seen some shit. They don't know what I've seen, but like they're definitely not going to mess with me.
Yeah, it's kind of like you don't have to tell me I'm ugly. I get punched in the face for a living. I know what I look like.
Yeah. It also though it's it's cauliflower ears, a little bit of social proof, because there's guys who don't know anything about fighting and see my ears, and then they start talking about fighting, and that automatically raises your level to the girls in the room.
Having battle scars raises your attractiveness with them.
Yes, because the guys are like, well, you do jiu-jitsu, do you wrestle? And then you start talking about that, and they get excited, and now the girls are like, oh, this guy's drawing attention from the room.
Oh, he can beat me up.
Good stuff, Jack. Well, thank you so much, man. I'm going to bring somebody else onto the stream. I appreciate you.
Good talking to you, Jack.
Enjoy.
All right, next we got Tom. Tom, you on the stream there, buddy? Can you hear us?
Yep. How you guys doing?
Good, Tom. Thanks for calling in, mate.
Not a problem. So, John, just a quick question for you. The UFC is the fastest growing sport by far in the world that's somewhat mainstream. Do you think that's because of kind of the lack of politically correct virtue signaling and things like that, and with what's going on in the NFL?
You've been I'm going to red pill you in MMA. You've been brainwashed a little bit, right? The idea that UFC is the fastest growing sport is just a tagline that they created. The sport's been shrinking since about 2008, and worldwide it's shrinking. And there's less shows, less money, and the reason is because they've monopolized the market and they're bleeding it dry. So the UFC has been growing, but everything else has been dying slowly. Even with the other promotions that have popped up in other countries, it's not where it was back when there was Strikeforce and Bellator. Strikeforce and
Elite
XC and Pride. And when those were around, that's when it was the largest growing sport in the world. But then once the UFC turned the corner and monopolized the market, they started choking the rest of the market out. But I think there is, fight part of Jordan Peterson and the Lobsters. There's a part of us that there's competition involved. I think we adapt and we adhere to one of the fighters that we're watching, and it becomes part of our tribe. And I think it's one of the reasons why fighters also get so much hate is because, you know, when you're thinking about a million years ago and your guy lost in the fight, you know, that was kind of humiliating. So, you know, there's a lot harsher judgments in that, I think.
Definitely.
But I think, you know, just the fact that we are humans, we are meant to, not just meant to fight, but like we have fought for millions of years. There's something to it that is always going to draw eyeballs to it. And that's one of the things that the UFC has counted on is people are always going to want to watch a fight. So even if you just crank out average fights with fighters who people don't know their names, people are still going to watch. And that's what they're banking on with a lot of their business model.
Thank you for this response. Just one more quick question. How do you think Donald Trump will how he will fare in the 2020 election?
Man, I think he's probably going to win on a landslide.
Landslide.
I don't see anybody who has a platform that anybody cares about at all. Like I Tulsi Gabbard. I like Tulsi Gabbard, but like they're already piling up on her, kicking her out of the debates. You know, I almost feel like the secret government wants Trump elected. Like they played a joke on Hillary.
Yeah, I get that in a way. They want to kind of play the game a little bit more, but I just don't see any. I think the character of Donald Trump's just ridiculous. It's underrated in many aspects, and no one comes close to him at all. But yeah, I think for the better of the Western world and America, I hope Donald Trump wins. That's for sure.
I think he's definitely gonna win. It's a correction, I think.
Yeah.
You know, we tried to correct after Bush, and we overcorrected into Obama, and they took advantage of our hopes and dreams. And
Very
then,
true.
you know, and then now we said, "Fuck it," you know, we're stealing into the wall. Let Trump have his turn.
Very true. And also, John, what are your thoughts about Joe Rogan as well?
Joe's, you know, done a lot with his show. He's a funny guy. He's definitely a powerful guy. And my only criticism of Joe is he's such a powerful guy that if he would get off the fence, he might make more of a difference with a lot of things. But he might, you know, he could, the same argument, he could lose some of his power or status if he made too much of a stance. But I don't know, especially with fighter rights and, you know, guys getting CTE, I feel like he could speak up a little more.
Yeah, definitely. It seems like he's kind of scared to annoy YouTube, especially, and Google in general, with the deplatforming right now. But yeah, I get that impression, not just politically speaking, but with the MMA and many other things. He always sits on the fence on a lot of things, and I think for him to continue long term, he's got to start taking more stances on things. But yeah, all right. Thank you, guys.
You are very welcome, Tom. Thank you for participating, sir. All right, John, we got some questions from the chat. I'll just read them off from you. Starting with from Christian Soto. He says, I don't have a good internet connection, but can you ask John what was the most helpful thing he has learned from you and your channel? So what do you, it's kind of weird for me to read that, but I'm servicing the audience. I don't know. Have you learned anything from me, John?
I've listened to a lot of your stuff on Red Man Group. And man, I think you had some good insights on the bipolar or the borderline personality disorder.
Yeah.
I think you had some good points on that. I remember listening to that a couple weeks ago. And that's one thing I've been lucky with is I can smell crazy from a half mile away.
Really? What's the craziest girl you've ever been with? What's the craziest story?
Well, that's the thing is I've dodged bullets, man. Like,
oh wow.
I mean, there was one girl in college where, like, you know, she brought me back from the bar, and I had seen her at bars a few times, talked to her, whatever, and finally took me home. And just walking in the front door, I was like, "This is a mistake." It was just like a frat house, like it was just destroyed, and I was just like, who lives here? It was like her and her sister and another girl. And I was just like, you fucking animals.
Yep.
It was the worst thing I'd ever seen in my life.
Oh yeah. And was this when I believe you wrestled at Purdue? Was
Purdue,
it?
yeah.
You were Division one.
Division one wrestler. I lettered 4 years. I never was an All-American or a national champ, but I walked on and ended up earning scholarships and lettered. So,
what weight class were you?
174 most of the time.
Okay.
I also wrestled 190. Like my first year was 197 because there wasn't anybody there, so I got some varsity time in. And then I moved to 174, and then senior year is 184.
Oh wow! So yeah, you bulked up as the time went across there.
A little bit. Well, I had a younger guy beat me my senior year, so I moved up.
Oh, that's the worst. I wrestled at 125, but I was in high school and I was trash. But my fastest pin was 34 seconds. Not trying to brag. It's definitely not a World Series of Fighting championship belt, but hey, we can't all be winners. I got another one for you here. Dean's 12345 says, does John feel that he was truly an independent contractor in the UFC or just in name only?
We are independent contractors, but we have a lot of issues where they treat us like employees. Like, when the UFC started doing the uniform thing, that's kind of like an employee situation, controlling who our sponsors are, telling us what we can and can't do outside of our contract. Those are all employee type things, but we don't get any of the benefits. So there's no retirement fund, there's no medical, there's none of that stuff, and we don't really want that. I would rather be paid a higher market share and be able to pay for my own stuff, right? So the UFC on average pays about 20% of the revenue to the athletes. Every other sport is 50% or better.
Right.
So the fighters are making at least 50% less than they should be.
Jesus. Personally, when that whole when I saw the whole switching from no longer allowing to get sponsors on your shorts to the Reebok, and then I read the Reebok like sponsorship payout, I was like, dude, this is absolute fucking bullshit. You're like robbing these guys who, I train jiu-jitsu on a weekly basis, and there's some times where I'm in the guard, I'm exhausted on the bottom. I've only been doing this for 10 minutes, and I think about like, how the fuck do these guys do this shit for a living? And like, it's truly, dude, you have
this is in the current contractual landscape. I mean, this is a game of pimps and hoes. The fighters are the hoes, and everybody else is just a pimp who makes money off of them, from the journalists to the coaches. It's really ugly. Do
you like Ariel Helwani or you hate him?
I mean, I like him, but at the same time, I understand why some of these guys are the way they are, because they can easily lose their job. They can easily lose the way they make money. So they toe the line, and they're not really journalists. They're just PR people.
Yeah.
So if they step out of line, they'll be reprimanded. They'll have an email go out to tell the fighters not to talk to this journalist. So they know their role. They know what to do. They're not going to step outside of that.
We had another one here for our. This is funny. This is actually hilarious for me. Do you have a good rant on Andrew Yang?
Well, he thinks white people are going to shoot up everything. Like he made some comments about that. I'm not a big basic income guy. I don't think it's a good theory. I think you have to teach people how to stand up on their own. You can't give them stuff. People don't do better when you start giving them stuff. But at the same time, he's also really just coming up with a sneaky way to redo the welfare state.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that guy's going to win at all. He is a complete fucking joke. Let's continue on here. We got another question. Says Ben from, I believe he's from Austria. He says, what is your plan after your pro sport career? Any business ideas?
Well, I have I travel and I do seminars and I teach that. I have my Patreon.
John Fitch Smash is your fighting style.
John Fitch Smash, and then I'm going to expand that Fitch Smash into more than just fighting. I think because the Smash is an acronym for Simple Measures Against Serious Hostiles, and that's basically you can come up with simple ways to deal with all types of issues. And laziness and a fat belly can be a serious hostile if you're in a position where you're not handling your business.
Yeah, dude. No, that's a big thing. I think, what as a masculine coach myself, one thing I realize is a lot of people, they are in today's day and age, they are comfortably uncomfortable. They're just in that sweet spot of, hey, I got my Netflix, I got just enough money to eat Uber Eats. I can't get a girl, but I got access to porn, and I'm comfortably uncomfortable. What do you think about that?
I think that's exactly right. People get in these little systems. They can survive. They have their needs met. On some artificial level, and they just get stuck there. And it's there's this whole thing, this self-acceptance thing of I'm good enough just the way I am. That's death sentence right there. So that means you're just done growing. You're not gonna push yourself towards getting better in any way. You're just done. I'm perfect the way I am. Just give me Netflix and some sugar, and I'm all right.
Yeah, no, it's definitely terrible. We got another guy here. He's going to join us. Charles Caballero. What is going on, Charles? Do you have a question for Mr. Fitch here?
Yes, sir, I do. So I know you've been talking about the UFC becoming a monopoly, and of course everything else, whether it be Invicta, Bellator, and all them, just being, I don't know, like scrutinized or just taken down from it. But with the UFC going with ESPN now, do you think they're still going to keep growing into the monopoly? Or do you think
they're seizing and tightening even down further on the monopoly. So what has happened with the ESPN deal is they have guaranteed money as if they were doing 500,000 pay-per-view shares per thing. They haven't done those numbers since like 2008, 2009.
Yeah.
So they're already way above what their normal earning rate is on that stuff. And then that means that they don't need star power anymore. They don't need Conor McGregor. They don't need Brock Lesnar. They don't need those guys because they've already got the money guaranteed. They don't need those cards with action-packed guys and big names on them anymore. They've turned their show into McDonald's. You're always going to be able to get a Big Mac, but it's not going to be the Ruth's Chris steak. It's always going to be a Big Mac. And that's kind of what they've done. They control the ranking. They control the belt. They can arbitrarily strip the belt from anybody and then give it to somebody else. It's basically pro wrestling. They've created pro wrestling without predetermined outcomes on the fights.
Okay. Gotcha. Thank you, guys.
You're very welcome, Charles. Thanks for coming through, dude. I got a couple more questions here. One of the guys had a good one. Oh, this is a very interesting one. And I would like you to elaborate on this as much as you can. He says, what's it like being a member of the top 5% in the sexual marketplace?
Man, well, being reintroduced to this world, it's a different world and it's glorious.
Yeah.
Because of the state of men today. So if you're seriously trying to put any effort into being better yourself, you're so much further ahead than everybody else.
So true.
So many guys will fight you and scream at you about how it's okay for them to spend all their time playing video games and watching porn. Like it's your competition. Like to the girls complaining about, I have girls come over and they look and see that I don't have a video game console on my TV. Mm-hmm. Like they can't believe it. Like, where's your Xbox? I don't play video games. Like what? Yeah. They cannot believe that you have time and the attention to do that. And it's a great place to be in right now. And I'm eagerly, I want to learn some of the pickup skills because I've never tried to approach. It's never been a thing I've had to do.
No, I definitely, I've seen somebody in the position of just like, he's like compared to you, he's like a D-list celebrity, but he was like on a couple episodes of VH1, and this guy, I just remember watching his Tinder and just like every swipe was connect, and then every girl's like pitching him, trying to come over. So, I mean, when you're up there, also when I went back to the States, I got injured last year, and I ripped the top of my left pectoral, and so I was out of the gym like 6 months. So I'm floating around like 25% body fat right now. I'm not gonna lie. I got a little sad.
You got your legs. You got two good legs.
I would, even when I was running, it was so shocking how much your pectoral is connected to everything.
Well, yeah, running is a violent act.
Yeah.
Get yourself on an Airdyne or lift some weights.
Yeah, and what that led me to is like I ended up I'm around like 25% body fat right now. I'm getting back down, and even the fact that I would because I went to the States right now, I wasn't even trying. I had a little meetup. I had a hot dude con. I don't know if you've heard about that, but I had a meetup, had all these guys come and meet me. And I wasn't even trying, but I went out and I just saw my competition in the United States. And I was just like, I could come here and clean up. I can clean the fuck up.
I'm scooping up 20-somethings pretty easily. And they're
my man.
they're starving for masculinity. Like,
yes,
you can see like to text them, meet me here at this time, wear a dress, like just to do something that I would think would unthinkable, in my blue pill days. Like the reaction, it's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. And that's what I'm telling these guys now. It's literally never been easier as a man to get ahead financially, sexually, and if you can have some discipline physically as well. And I want to talk to you about your diet as well. Dude, you are in immaculate shape. I was watching, so your diet is like you cook eggs in the morning with your bacon, and then I saw the rice rice ground turkey, and lettuce mix you eat. You only eat 1 cup of rice a day? That's all your carbs?
Yeah, my carbs will be half a cup to a cup of carbs in a day.
That's enough for you? You don't like have fatigue?
Oh yeah, it is. It's plenty enough for me. I'll wait till after my big workout to usually eat the carbs. And depends on if I'm training hard or not. Like when I spent that 8 weeks not really training hard, like I would go like 2 or 3 days with no carbs. Just I didn't really need. I wasn't doing anything other than lift, or I wasn't even lifting, so I didn't really need the extra energy. So I just cut back on those carbs, and I think I just had sugar because I was drinking some nights, but that was about it. And then I was intermediate fasting on the weekends. Yeah.
Winston Wolf from Romania has a question. He says, any tips on improving willpower?
Man, I do this thing. It's a practice I do called the art of enjoying one. Right. And it's just take something that you love, like a Pringles, right? And just eat one and see if you could just get away with only having one. And I'll practice this with a lot of different things. It could be one drink at the bar. It could be one Pringle. It could be, one of something.
Could you do one pump and then end the session?
That's on another level.
That's God tier right there.
That's God tier. Yeah.
Awesome. Let's do a couple more, and then let's see. Arcasio has another similar question. He says, how do you deal with procrastination, and what's your mindset to combat it?
So I read this book recently, the National Neuro-Linguistic Programming, right, NLP, and they had a good mental thing to get through some of that procrastination. But besides those tricks, what's worked for me the best is scheduling, right? Because I find that it's easier to be disciplined than it is to do a lot of other things. So if I can schedule my weeks out, my days out, I can stick to the schedule and just force myself, okay, it's this time I have to go do this. This is time for this. So if I can sectioned out throughout the day. I kind of went out through college wrestling because our days were sectioned out with classes and workouts. It became easier for me to stay disciplined and stay committed and keep that willpower going to accomplish those goals.
That's awesome, dude. Let me ask you this. So, like, what you obviously have this this brand and stuff that you're doing right now. Like, what is your goal? What is your end goal? Like, obviously you're fighting for Bellator and you're still fighting. How long do you plan to continue fighting, and what is your goals outside of fighting?
Well, I've been flirting with the idea of retirement.
Okay.
But I'm in a position where my last fight, I mean, I beat the champ. So
yeah,
it's hard for me to just kind of walk away from. And, I like fighting. So I think I'm probably going to do it again, maybe a couple more times. We'll see. But I'm working on building the Fitch Smash more. I want to teach more guys that stuff. I'm getting into this manosphere a little bit more. If I get into some public speaking and maybe even do some local men's groups.
Yeah.
There's a lot of local people that definitely use some help. I mean, I've talked to girls who I've given this idea to, this idea of being a masculinity coach.
Yeah.
And they love it because they're tired of these guys.
Dude, it's so funny that you said that. When we had our little Hot Dude Con meetup, I was talking to these hot little Latina girls, just wasn't even trying. One of our guys was hitting on them. And they were saying, there's so many, and this is crazy to hear it come from women. They said there's so many female empowerment groups. It's finally good to see a men's empowerment group. I was expecting to be met with hostility, but I was like, I was welcomed with open arms.
It's the loud silent, the loud minority are the ones that you're worried about. Like, the majority of people on the ground, they can't wait, and they think it's a great idea. But yeah, it's just a small group of people online are gonna throw hate at you.
Yeah. So some random questions here for you. What's your favorite food to eat?
Sushi's up there, but steak. I like meat. Meat is good.
Filet mignon.
Filet. I like ribeye. I'm a big ribeye guy.
Ribeye. Do you like it well done, like our commander in chief?
Nope. I like it pink, a little red, a little medium rare.
Favorite combination to throw?
I like to lead with a straight two or a straight right. It depends. I switch from southpaw to orthodox sometimes. So the straight power punch followed by a power jab into the single leg.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. And then favorite submission?
Beat down.
Okay.
I like to beat you into a verbal submission.
That's always a good thing, Randy Couture style. And who you got, Diaz or Masvidal?
Oh man,
I got Diaz.
Probably because it's going to be a fight where they both could just concede to stand and throw. Yeah, and it's going to be fun though because
it's definitely
Masvidal he's a banger too. So. It's good to see. It's good to see him getting some recognition of. He's put in a lot of years. He's been around a long time. He first came on the scene. Fighting with Kimbo. In the backyards. Yeah. Back in the day when Kimbo was coming up.
Yeah, and remember, talk about. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but Masvidal was choked out by Toby Imada with the most a very humiliating. Do you remember that the triangle choke when he was on Masvidal up? Yeah,
the upside down triangle. That's right.
Talk about being in consistency and persistence, man. Now look at him; he's like a UFC superstar, fastest knockout in UFC history.
Yeah, it's good to see, but it's so funny how he's chipping away for a long time. And he doesn't really pop, and then getting over on Askren. If he would have done that to anybody else, I don't know if he would still be is popular, but I think so many people hated Askren.
Yeah.
It's like he became their hero immediately.
He definitely I did not see that coming. I thought Askren was going to work him. And yeah, man. So John, listen, thank you so much. I feel like this interview has run its course, sir. Where can these guys find you? Where can they connect with you? Where can they support you?
Yeah, official John Fitch on YouTube. I do usually a daily live stream. I do take a lot of questions.
What time do you do live stream? What time?
9:30 a.m. Pacific.
9:30 a.m. Pacific. Is that every day?
Pretty much weekdays, all weekdays. Yeah.
Okay, so Monday to Friday, 9:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on John Fitch's YouTube channel.
So sometimes, things come up, so we miss days, but that's usually where I am daily. Then I have johnfitch.net, my website. People can check out. I got some blogs and stuff up there. My Patreon, patreon.com/John Fitch. That's where I have a lot of technique videos. I have, for the first tier, I have lifting videos. I have my meal plan. I have my basic model of my meal plan up. I also have a second, third tier with a little extra stuff in there for content. Just starting to grow that a little bit more. Kind of like laser in on what I'm trying to do with everything. Find out where guys are needed and what guys need. I think discipline, health, nutrition, and just maintaining frame. I think that's where I've gotten things right is maintaining my frame in certain areas. If I would have lost my frame, I wouldn't have my sons. I wouldn't have won fights. Even going through really shitty relationship and all that stuff, I still won world championships. So, I think, when it comes to keeping frame, I can do a pretty good job of that.
That's awesome, dude. That's really good to hear. And in closing, if you had to give one message to all American young men out there who are maybe floundering or squandering their youth or whatever, what is like your one message of masculinity you would like to give out to the world?
May always be growing. Enjoy the journey, but always be growing. You should always be trying to get to be better, always trying to get to a better place. But at the same time, you've got to enjoy where you're at. There's a duality there that I've missed at certain points along my way where, I was so focused on getting to the next lily pad that I wasn't enjoying this place I was at. So, always be getting better, but make sure you're enjoying where you're at the same time.
That's awesome, dude. I love it, man. I'm truly humbled and honored to be speaking to you, a guy that I used to, watch on television. Still do watch you on television. I think that the fact that you had the balls to be publicly vocal about this, I think that shows a lot of character and a lot of kind of like societal responsibility, because I
have sons. I don't want them walking into a world that's incompetent, and that's what it is, really. I think men are really weak right now because they're incompetent, and they were taught to be incompetent by their mothers.
Yep. Yeah, I was raised by a single mom. I can tell you, first and foremost, man, it was an uphill battle for me to cultivate my masculinity, but it was seriously the best thing in the world. I mean, so many guys these days, they can't even maintain eye contact with somebody.
Yeah. No, that's girls. If girls tell me that, just being able to look at them in the eye and carry on a conversation, it's nuts. Like, that's all it takes these days.
The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. So those guys that are ready to step up, man, there's nothing but endless riches and bitches on the other end of that. That's going to do it for us today, guys. Again, John, a million thanks to you. I would love to have you come and do some of these on the back end of the body language mastery. If you want to come in and coach, we have like a session like this, but with about 50. I'm projecting we're going to have about 75 guys live. Behind the scenes, behind a private area, so we can field questions to them. I'll talk to you that off the air when we're good to go. Other than that, man, thank you so much. You're welcome on the show. I think it would be great if we can have you on Rule Zero. I'll talk to the guys if you would like to come on Rule Zero, and then we could. I'll talk to Donovan and stuff as well, and we could get you on a couple shows and really help get you out there, because I think that the fact that you are literally a bona fide world champion and you are red pill as fuck now, I think that is the ultimate role model, that you're the modern John Wayne. Like, we need to bring masculinity back. We forsaken it, and
a renaissance of masculinity.
We definitely need it. And I think it's coming. I truly believe it's coming, and I think it's unstoppable.
Mm-hmm. I mean, even if it's not large scale, I mean, guys, they're going to be greatly. I think the dating market of the future is going to look extremely different. It's not going to look anything like the past. You know, I think a lot of guys are lying to themselves. I think we can still tap into something from the 1950s. I just don't see how that's possible. I don't think women are going to view relationships the same way anymore. They're too capable of surviving on their own. They're providing for themselves. It's going to be a different landscape out there. And if you're not a high value male, like you're just going to be playing video games and watching porn, you're going to have to be okay with that.
Yep. Time to wake up, boys. All right, man, that's going to do it. I'm going to end the thing here. But thank you guys for listening. And be sure to tune in tomorrow for another episode here. Interview with Man, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will be doing this every single day in the month of September. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. Remember, get out there, make money, make muscles, learn game, keep your head up. And like John says here, never stop growing. Take care, and I'll see you tomorrow.